Welcome to Open for Business, the Gallatin Valley's only local business and consumer talk show featuring Tom Egelhoff, the Man Entrepreneur magazine radio called the leading authority in the United States for doing business in small town. Here he is, speaker, author, small business consultant, and Mrs. Egelhoff's favorite son, Tom Egelhoff.
All right, welcome everyone. Open for Business. We air every Saturday live from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Mountain Time on AM 1450 KMMS in Bozeman, 1340 KPRK in Livingston, Montana. If you'd like to be a part of the big broadcast, go to kmmsam.com and click Listen Live. The call-in number during the show, 406-522-TALK, 406-522-8255. I'm here, you're here. Let's get the show on the road. All right, welcome back, everyone. 71 degrees outside. It's Saturday, June 18th, 2016, 25 minutes before the top of the hour. And I want to welcome you to the podcast portion of Open for Business. Each week I share some tips and tricks I've learned over the years about advertising, marketing, promotion, and building strong, successful businesses. And I do these Open for Business podcasts live every Saturday between 11:30 and noon Mountain Time from the studios of AM 1450 KMMS in Bozeman and 1340 KPRK in Livingston, Montana, and of course streaming worldwide on the web at kmmsam.com. So if you missed any of the previous podcasts, you'll find them all on my YouTube channel or my website at smalltownmarketing.com. That's smalltownmarketing.com. Go about halfway down the homepage on the left side, and you'll find a link to the podcast page so you can catch up on any of my podcasts that you might have missed. So today's topic, we want to talk about how to build your business with co-op and co-branding advertising. So if you've been in business long enough to have developed a relationship with vendors and suppliers, then it might be time to consider co-op or co-branding advertising. Now, these two methods will help you advertise your product at a lower rate by having another entity picking up part, or in some cases all of the advertising expenses. So let me begin by defining each term, and then I'll tell you how to use both of them individually. So let's start with co-op advertising. In this form of advertising, a retailer would promote a specific brand of merchandise that the store carries. A clothing store might promote a designer brand of clothing, or a paint store promote a specific brand of paint. So since the ads would be designed to sell more of that brand of clothing or paint, then the manufacturer must pay or may pay part or all of the advertising costs. So in some cases, the manufacturer might produce all the ads with a spot in the ad for the store name, hours, phone, website, etc. Now, this represents a pool of money annually in the United States to have been estimated at in excess of $50 billion a year. Much of it remains untapped at the end of every year. So let's talk about also what co-branding advertising is. Now, one of the most common forms of this kind of advertising is a brand of soft drink promoting the NutraSweet sweetener or Intel inside on a computer. In a local small town, it might be as simple as a local wedding planner teaming up with a bakery or a florist and giving out each other's promotion. Usually, co-branding creates an additional benefit for the consumer. So as you can see, there's advantages to both kinds, and sometimes they can be used together. So let's look at each one in more detail and how to make them work for you. So let's talk about co-op advertising first. So as I mentioned, we're talking about $50 billion annually. Now, retailers either don't know co-op advertising exists or they've never asked for it. So there are two things you need to know right off the bat about co-op advertising. First, most vendors aren't going to come screaming to you that they have co-op money available. And two, it might take you a while to get your money. So sometimes these payments seem to take forever to work their way through the approval system. But once you begin using co-op on a regular basis, even though it might be 6 months later before you get your first check, after that they start showing up monthly as they go through the process. So pin your vendor down about when to expect payment and get it in writing as soon as possible. Make sure you have the contact number of someone who can answer all your questions and resolve problems if they should arise. So let's make the contacts. The first step in your quest for co-op money is to contact everyone who supplies you with products and supplies and find out what their co-op procedures are. Usually they're going to be pretty strict. Their logo has to be a certain size, perhaps certain colors, other restrictions. So before going to the expense of running an ad, make sure you submit it to the manufacturer and get that written approval before you place it. Don't forget to check with your local media. They may also know the guidelines for certain advertisers. Radio, TV, and other media often give co-op if they're if you're featured in their ads as well. After all, they advertise too. So know the rules and follow them. I mentioned this earlier, but I should reinforce it more strongly here. These folks will not give you the money if you stray even slightly outside their guidelines. They are extremely strict, and you must follow every instruction to the letter, or you give them an out not to pay you. It's not that companies are out to get you to pay for their ads, but they want their business presented in the best possible light. So the bottom line, get everything, and I mean everything, in writing, and admit copies of all ads and approval documentation with your co-op request for payment. This will also speed up the payment process in some cases. And don't forget why you're doing this. Yes, you're promoting a brand name, but don't forget that the principal reason for the ad is to encourage the customer to contact your business. Your space in the ad may be limited, so make sure that your business information is displayed as prominently as possible. The whole reason for the ad is to get business for you, not the manufacturer. If you get it, so will they. So the more you give, the more you get. Keep accurate records of how much product you sell and how much co-op you use. If your co-op is successful, then the company may increase their share of the money they share with you. The more you buy, the more they will give you to grow your business. So know where the breaks are. In some cases, you may get more co-op money if you go up one more level of purchase. The added expense will probably be much less than the cost of the advertising and the increased business it will produce. If you check with your suppliers and they don't offer co-op advertising, perhaps you need to make a proposal and show them the advantages of doing it with you. The worst thing they can say is no, but they may also say yes. So let's move on to co-branding. Now, co-branding also has some rules to remember. The first and most important rule, you're hanging your name out there with someone else. You must be sure that they are above reproach. If they have a scandal or public relations problem, it suddenly becomes your problem too. So if you have reason to believe that a 60 Minutes camera crew may show up on their doorstep, then this is not a company you might not want to form a business partnership with. Your customer base is going to be affected by any alliance you make. So make sure that your company, any company you deal with, has the quality and service that your customers are accustomed to. Before entering into any relationship, you must feel confident that it's mutually beneficial to both parties, and the products or services offered must provide a worthwhile benefit to both parties. What if your customers really like your side of the arrangement, but the other side is resistant after a while and decides to end the relationship? Well, some things you need to consider are, is this a long-term or a short-term arrangement? Do both companies have the ability to supply needed products and services equally? Are both companies strong financially in case of economic problems or slow sales period? So get it in writing. For most people in small towns, a handshake is probably enough for a binding agreement. For most of us, our word is our bond. But I've also noticed there are attorneys in small towns too. So just make sure that there's no misunderstanding. It's always a good practice to write down what each party's going to do. You may not have to have a lawyer involved, but if it's a substantial commitment, it never hurts. It's a partnership. Make sure you can get along with the person you're co-branding with. You're in essence creating a mini partnership, and both of you will have a say in advertising and other financial concerns. The upside is that a successful mutual respect may be your reward along with your business profits. So set goals and objectives. What's expected from this joint venture? Sales objectives must be set and met that are agreeable to both parties. The method of measurement must be set up that will demonstrate the success or failure of the program. Cross-training of salespeople may be necessary so they understand the pros and cons of both businesses. As you can see, each of these two methods of advertising has some good and bad parts that may or may not fit your business. So the co-op advertising should help the small store owner and the co-branding the larger company. Best features of both is that there is more exposure of your business at a lower cost, and one of my goals is to keep advertising costs low and profits high. Co-advertising is a great way to test advertising at half the cost, plus the co-op advertiser has a track record of testing the co-op ads they use. So take advantage of this free money and put it to good use as you build a successful small town business. And that's the podcast. So if you missed any of the previous podcasts, you'll find them all on my YouTube channel or on my website at smalltownmarketing.com. That's smalltownmarketing.com. Go about halfway down the homepage on the left side, and you'll find a link to the podcast page so you can catch up on any of the podcasts that you might have missed. So tune in each Saturday, and let's build successful businesses together.